Hello, I am Dr. R.P. Narpata, Associate Professor of AI&DS Department of Kalangnar Karnataka Institute of Technology, Coimbatore. In this session, let us look into perspective process model. So first, looking into the process model, let us know what are the generic process framework is about. So before a model is being into a structure, we have to know the process framework contains the following factors which are essential for any model to undergo. The first is communication. Communication involves among the customer and the other stakeholders to encompasses the requirement gathering. It is helpful in the collection of requirement gathering, and the planning is highly essential in software engineering for the task and the resources and the work products and the schedules to understand in a better way. To plan ahead, all this is essential. And modeling involves the analysis and design. That is how you're going to build the model in a better way. And the construction involves the code and the test part, which is a combination of code generation and testing. And the deployment is nothing but delivering the software to the customer at the end. So, this is the generic process framework which is containing these five phases: communication, requirement gathering, planning, a set of tasks, resources, and work products, and the work schedules are planned ahead. And modeling involves the model, a better model for with a better design. And the construction is nothing about the coding and the test part and the deployment. So let us look into what is meant by a modeling. A modeling is nothing but a blueprint of the product that we are going to build. So that provides the entire detail of the data structures, the software, that architecture, and the interfaces and the components that are necessary to build a particular product. So it may contain the architecture design, user interface design, and the component level design. Architecture design is nothing but the structure of the data that is going to be used in that particular product building and the components that are required to build the particular software. That is the architecture design. And the user interface design is nothing but how a user and the machine is going to communicate is the UI design. That is, it creates an effective communication medium between a human and a computer. And a component level design is nothing but the data structures, algorithms that is involved in building that particular product. So these are the different design aspects which has to be considered in any modeling for software. Let us now look into the perspective process model. So perspective process model is nothing but the set of activities, actions, and the task, a work that is required in building a particular a product, which are essential for an engineer in building a high quality software. These activities may be in linear fashion or in an incremental or in an evolutionary. It may be of a linear one or an incremental way or an evolutionary. First, let us look into a linear process model. So, what model is one such model which is especially on a linear manner? So, it is been in the disk design fashion. That is, the communication, the five phases, the process framework which we have seen is fitted in this fashion. That is, communication, planning, modeling, construction, and your execution, that is planned in this head. That is, your requirement gathering is nothing but communicating with the other stakeholders and going ahead with the product base is the communication. Plan according to the requirement gathering is estimation the schedule when this particular task has to be completed, how many team size has to be needed. All this planning is been going ahead with this planning. And modeling is like how the design of the particular product has to be built, that is the modeling. And the construction is nothing but the code and the test that is going to go ahead, and deployment is nothing but ha- handing over to the customer and is your. So this is an iterative model where each phase, after completing each phase, you can move on to the next phase ahead. But this model is having a certain drawback. That is, this is the oldest software cycle model and best understood by the upper management. So once your requirements are gathered, you are moving to the planning and you are moving to the design, and then you are going for a code and then for a deployment. Here, only with a well defined understanding of the requirements, this model works better. So, this is a linear process which is going ahead, and also any confusions or any conflicts in one particular phase will not be uh, able to correct in that particular, since after completing one particular task it is moving to the next phase. So that is what is doesn't support any iterations, so change can cause confusions, so difficult for the customers to state all the requirements explicitly upfront. So it is like the linear way. Once the planning is done, and it is moved to the next phase, and once the code is done, it is moving to the next phase. So the confusions or any corrections has to be made. It in this particular model, since it's an oldest model, this cannot be carried out. That is why it is having another version of waterfall model with a feedback. That is, so once the requirements are carried out at the initial phase, and it is uh, based on the customer's requirement, you are moving to the planning phase, where in planning all your estimation, effort estimation, schedules, task is being planned. If it is not accordingly, you can go back and make your requirement, correct your requirement accordingly, and come to the planning phase ahead. Then move on to the modeling for the design. So every phase has like a mechanism to go back if the process is not correct accordingly to the product that you wanted to build. So that is one of the major advantage of the version of the waterfall model with feedback. So this is what is an iterative process model in one is a one such model in your perspective model. And the next model that we are going to see is incremental model. In incremental model, this is also a linear one, which is on an iterative basis. That is, all the five phases go ahead with the increment one. That is, your communication, planning, modeling, construction, and deployment starts at increment one. And your second increment starts while the first increment is in the planning phase. And your third increment starts while your second increments in the planning phase. So parallelly, all is going ahead as a parallel task. So this is one of the advantage of this particular model. That is, when you are well understood of the requirements, you can go ahead with this model, and all are go ahead with the linear fashion with an increment, and it goes in that particular flow. So it is iterative in nature and focuses on our operational product, and each increment provides a needed set of functionality sooner while delivering the components later. It is useful when you have a full scale of deliverable, and it is short for a short uh, process of product. So that is what is here. And next perspective model we are looking into is an evolutionary type, which is nothing but a prototyping model. So here it is an evolutionary one, where you start your communication and you plan ahead, you model, and you go for a construction, and you go for a deployment. Here, once the communication is going ahead, you quickly plan accordingly the task, effort, and the schedule, and model according to the design and the constructions, and go for your feedback. Here, that is, this is an iterative approach. When you are not understandable of the well requirement, you can go ahead with this model, because it is a continuous loop. As while it is not in a right way, can go ahead with that same circle and change accordingly the model. So this is what is one of the advantage of this particular model. So all these models, it is using a feedback to refine the prototype. So the aspects of the software are visible to the customer and the user. All these models are used in your, which comes under your perspective model. According to the product which is to be used, accordingly, the model is chosen to build it. Thank you.